Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Vittoria. I am a realtor with Keller Williams Coastal, serving both Rhode Island and Massachusetts. I want to go over some news I've been seeing recently. There's been a lot of doom and gloom out there about prices are about to fall, things of that nature. I'd like to entitle this the Don't Panic version of the real estate news. Let's get into it. So, what really caused me to want to make this video was I saw this article in Fortune magazine. Robert Shiller predicted the 2008 housing bubble. Here's his 2022 call. So, okay, well, I was in the markets in 2008. I remember it quite well. I know Robert Shiller. He's brought on by CNBC all the time. He must be important. So when you read it, up to the subscribe point, here's what it says. Basically, they're setting up in the first paragraph his credentials. He called irrational exuberance the tech bubble. He called the real estate crash. Then he goes into the pandemic housing boom has pushed up housing prices by 42%. Does Shiller think we're in another housing bubble? And on Sunday, Shiller spoke with Yahoo Finance. He told the outlet that he once again thinks the U.S. housing market is headed for trouble. Well, that's going to scare a lot of people because it's going to make them get a little excited thinking that prices are about to fall. Little known fact is that the majority of people only read the first 3 paragraphs of any article, which is why this kind of shows you what they're trying to feed you. Doom and gloom gets a lot of clicks and sells a lot of papers or magazines. I get it. I get what they're going for. But when you get into the meat of the article, which I can't show you because the subscription, it allowed me to read it once. And when I went back to record this, it turned it off. It said I had to subscribe to read more, and I don't want to do that. But Shiller basically says, well, yeah, there could be a problem. He doesn't say we're about to crash. He doesn't say everything's going to fall apart. He says we could be in for a problem if 42% every 2 years keeps happening, because that would make sense. What this article also gets into is it talks a little bit about, housing starts have just started to creep back up again. But most people don't understand what really happened and what caused everything, and I'd like to bring you through that because this is very, very important information. If you look at the Federal Reserve economic data, and we go back and we look and we see how housing starts trend. Yep, they go up and down. But after 2008, when we got nailed, what is not talked about very often is a huge number of house builders went bankrupt. I have a friend of mine. His father got into it, was selling, was doing really well. Bang, 2007 happens, and they lost everything. And there are untold numbers of contractors who fell into that boat as well. They were doing great, and then one day they weren't. And what happened was they didn't come back. They found other jobs. They didn't come back into the market. So as a result, housing starts fell, and they never really got back to the averages that we would see in through here, back through the 90s and the early 2000s. It's only now starting to creep back up. So what part of that article is saying is that, in certain markets, Atlanta or Las Vegas, some places out in California, they have such a huge number of housing starts. Shiller says, those markets might be in for trouble because eventually you build so much, you don't have enough people to buy the houses. So as we all know, when you're looking at real estate, it is intensely local. So I looked at it and I said, what does Rhode Island look like? Well, let's find out. Rhode Island housing starts. Unlike Atlanta, where they're doing thousands and thousands of these, Rhode Island barely breaks 100. I mean, you get 164 in 2017, 187 in 2018. You got 182 in 2021, but these are not huge numbers. If we go back here and we look back in, February of 2001 at 147, or you come down here 100 in February, 101 in February 2013, we very, very rarely in the wintertime broke beneath 100 new housing building permits per month in Rhode Island. We're just barely getting above that most months now. Rhode Island has not built back up again. And as a result of that, one of the reasons why we had such a boom in housing prices is all these people who wanted houses and wanted to buy houses couldn't buy them because they weren't being built. So now you're starting to see it come back a little bit more. So what happens when you have a situation where lots and lots and lots of people are trying to buy something, but can't do it because we do not have the housing supply to accommodate them? Well, you get something like this. Providence ranks 5th for worst rent hikes. I am working with a number of people right now who have decided to step back from purchasing and find something to rent instead. It is amazing, the rental increases. It is a tremendous struggle for these individuals to find anything. And landlords are being super selective because they can be. Because they can raise the rents to the point because everybody wants something and people are willing to pay it. If we had greater housing supply here in the state, that would start to ease a little bit. Things like rent controls and whatnot will only make it worse. So it's really important for us, to start seeing more of a housing supply. So when we go back to this original article here of, are we going to have a boom? Are we going to have a bust? Is everything going to fall apart? Is it going to be back to the way it was in 2007 again, where you're going to have 30 or 40% of value of your house goes away and then all these buyers can come back to the market? It's extraordinarily unlikely to happen. Most places are forecasting modest increases of 3 to 4%. You have a few outliers who are saying a modest decrease of 2 to 3%. We're not in a situation where you're going to see a massive reduction yet. Will it happen in the future? Undoubtedly. But is that 5 years from now? Is that 10 years from now? Is that 20 years from now? And how much equity could you have had if you had owned a house at that point in time? So that's our video today. Let me know, please, if you have any questions. This market's really complex. There's a lot going on. We have low inventory. We still have lower rates. I know they're not as low as they used to be, but they're still near historical lows. And there's a very large amount of opportunity for savvy buyers and sellers right now. But you need the right advice from somebody who is dialed into the market and is level-headed and is really thinking about this stuff every day. Do not pay attention to the headlines. All real estate is intensely local. Talk to your local realtor, somebody who's studying your market, who's up to date with the trends in your market, and that's how you're going to have the absolute best possible results for yourself. Feel free to reach out on any of the platforms here. I will be glad to help you. Have a great day, everyone.